kindness to me means seeing the beauty in others and helping them see it in themselves.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
My name is Orly Wahba. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, but I'm actually currently living in Jerusalem. I moved here about 3 years ago. It was supposed to be just a year adventure, just like this really awesome adventure. And I fell in love with the city, with the people, with the energy. And about a year ago, actually right before COVID, I got my citizenship. I came in and then they closed the entire country down. So I got in right in the nick of time. And it's been an incredible experience so far. Just about a little bit about my background. I was a middle school teacher for 7 incredible years out in Brooklyn. And the concepts of kindness, compassion, empathy, these were things I was incorporating into my classroom on a daily basis. And I saw the impact that it had on my students. And about 10 years ago, back in 2011, my goodness, it's 10 years ago, how time flies. I decided to take a leap of faith, left my job. It was supposed to be just for the year. And I started a nonprofit organization called Life Vest Inside, which is geared towards spreading kindness. And I've been doing that now for the past 10 years as a full-time volunteer. It's been an incredible journey. And I feel very, very privileged to have a part in infusing a bit of kindness into the world. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
You come across with a personality that fits your goals really, really well.
It means a lot to me, Gail. I appreciate that. But I'll tell you this, I bet you wouldn't believe that as a kid, I was the shyest kid ever. I was the kid in class. I wouldn't even raise my hand in class. That's how shy I was. When I tell people that, they tell me you must be lying. I don't believe you. I always say now my parents tell me, we can't get you to stop talking, Orly.
Are you done now?
Yeah, go for it.
I grew up in Southern Illinois in a little old country town of about 100 people. And later, when I was about 16, we moved to Dixon, Illinois. And I met my wife there. And when it comes to kindness, she taught me just about everything that I know about being kind. In 64 years, I never heard her once make a critical statement about anybody or anything. When she just let it roll off of her shoulders whenever something happened. And then she had a terrible stroke. We come to the boulevard. She lived in assisted living for 2 years and then passed away. I was 85, I'm 86 now. And when I considered all the advantages of living in the boulevard, I just decided to stay. And since I've been here, I've had the opportunity to, you have to understand, dealing with roughly 100 elderly people, you're going to run into all sorts of issues. These people have problems of their own, and family issues, all sorts of things. And I've tried to be an example to those people of how to be happy no matter what. And I made it and being around Rachel, this comes real easy. No matter what, just being nice to those folks. And if I recognize something that somebody that's having a hard time, just sitting down with them and talking to them and giving them a little back rub or something and encourage them can make an awful lot of difference for them. I got a couple of examples that I'll share with you, and that was, we have a lady here that had a real serious auto accident and her brain was messed up a little bit. And her son put her in the boulevard against her wishes and took control of all of her money. And at times I've seen her walking up and down the hallway. She's talking to herself, you know, I don't want to be here, blah, blah, blah. And when she comes in the dining room and she's in that kind of state of mind, I'll walk over to her, and now she's to the point when she sees me coming, she tells me, "Go away, I don't want to talk to you." Well, I stand in front of her and I put my eyes about half closed and I give her that stare, and she looks at me 3 or 4 times and she starts to smile. And next thing you know, we're both laughing at each other and having a good time. And I think it makes her day go,
Wow.
you know, the rest of the way.
Wow.
She really needed some help, and I was fortunate enough to recognize that and make a difference for her.
Wow.
Let's
That's
see.
really, I have to just say that's a very, very, very beautiful story. Just all it takes is just seeing somebody, right? Just opening your
Another
eyes
act,
to see
another
what
act of
people
kindness
need
I've
and how
been,
you could fill that need.
well, it makes me feel real good too that you're able to help somebody, you know, make it through their day. Another person walks with a walker and a lady, and just for breakfast is where I do this for, and just moving chair out of the way and helping her. I make it a point to, when she comes inside, I start singing, "Here she comes," you know, rocking and a rolling or something like that, and get her smiling. But then help her situation with the wheelchair, hold the chair for her, and then scoot her up the table and things. And she truly appreciates that. And you can see it in her face that, you know, she appreciates somebody doing something. And I get more joy out of doing it than she does.
So first of all, I just want to say one thing on a side note. I condolences on the passing of your wife, but it's very, very clear that she supercharged you with that sense of that ability to see and to give kindness. And in a sense, everything that you're doing is really is part of her legacy. And I always say to people, you know, kindness is that, it's a supercharger. And you come with this amazing positive energy and you come right in and you're talking to somebody. And what happens is you supercharge them. And then that person continues on with their day and
Right.
they're going to supercharge another and then another. And it becomes this crazy ripple. I've always said, when people ask me, you know, what does kindness mean to me? I've always said kindness to me means seeing the beauty in others and helping them see it in themselves. I really do believe that. I believe that it's our responsibility to help people see just how amazing they are. We happen to live in a world where people are always constantly comparing themselves with others, especially in a digital media world, right? When people are
Right.
comparing their life with all of these other people, how come I'm not that fast or that smart, or how come I'm not that rich or that popular? And so kindness to me is helping a person see their beauty, how incredible they are. Because the minute that they can see it in themselves, imagine the shift and the change that will happen in the world. If everybody realizes and everybody really takes into their heart the fact that they matter, that they make a difference, that because you're there, you're impacting positive change. Imagine how much more positive change we can have, because there's no extra people in the world. It's not like, oops, you know, created an extra one. That was a mistake. Every person, if you're here for a reason. There's something that you can bring into the world. And it's very clear from the examples that you're sharing and the acts of kindness that you're doing. And it's in these simple things, right? You're speaking to somebody, you're making somebody laugh, you're singing a song, you're helping to move a chair. But these small actions create a tremendous amount of ripple. and they allow a person to feel validated. They allow a person to feel seen. And the minute that that happens, they now have the ability to pass that incredible, powerful energy forward to other people.
Well, I try to tell them too, being happy is a choice you make. You can choose to not be
Exactly.
happy, or you can choose to be happy. And it's a lot easier to be happy than it is to be unhappy.
It's
And
the
I
same thing with
understand,
kindness. It's a choice.
yeah, it's a choice. And you have to understand, in this environment, you will have those people who are hurting, and you know, I can't imagine what all goes through their mind. Um, some of them accept it really, really, really well, and realize, okay, this is our final stopping point, and why not make the most of it? And if I can help somebody do that, then it starts off my day right. I'm energized. I can go away whistling because of something really nice happened, and so they're doing as much good for me as I am for them, and starting
You're
the day.
actually bringing up a you bring up a really important point, because there's actual scientific evidence behind this. Did you know that when you're engaging in an act of kindness, right? When you're doing something good for somebody, the reason that you feel good, well, first of all, the science aside, is because in that moment that you're giving, you're being validated for the right reasons. You didn't need to be, the fastest or the smartest or the wealthiest to make a difference. You just needed to be you. And you brought a smile to somebody's face. And so you're validated for the right reasons. And you recognize, wow, I really do make a difference. But when we engage in acts of kindness and giving, our endorphin levels increase, just like when we exercise. So we feel really good. Our cortisol levels decrease. Our stress hormones decrease. So there's actual scientific evidence, our oxytocin levels rise, as to how engaging in acts of kindness helps us to live a better, healthier, longer life, just from engaging in kindness, which is part of the human instinct. I mean, is to want to give and want to do for others. So it's not only impacting the person you're giving to. If anything, it's impacting you. Just like you said, it's impacting you even more, because you said, wow, I was just able to bring a smile to that guy's face.
Is there an act of kindness that really stuck out to you that you've either witnessed or done yourself?
Oh, I have so many stories that I can share, but the one that comes to mind the minute that you ask that question took place a few years ago. My grandfather, who's passed away now, it's been 7 years. I can't believe it's been 7 years. When he got sick and he was in the hospital, it was very, very hard for my family and I. He was really young, and it was the first time I ever had somebody that I was that close to be on the verge of losing his life. It was very, very, very difficult. And it was one day I was going to visit him in the hospital, and everything just seemed to be crashing down on me in life. So many different aspects, personal, professional, like everything. And then my grandpa is sick in the hospital. I didn't know what I was going to do. Like if he was going to be gone just like that, I felt like my world was just going to continue to crash down on me. And I get to the hospital and I couldn't bring myself to walk in. And my parents walked in and I just walked away, and I wandered around the city. I didn't even know where I was going. I was just in a state of fog. I can't tell you. And I ended up by a bus stop, and it was already evening. It was already getting dark. And I'm sitting at this bus stop. I'm not planning to go anywhere. I'm just thinking, how am I going to handle all of this? I felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. And suddenly I see a guy who's driving, and he's stopping by different bus stops. He's getting out, he's cleaning them down, and he continues on to the next bus stop. So now I see he is approaching the bus stop, and he comes over, he goes, Miss, are you okay? Now, when somebody asks you if you're okay and you're really not okay, what happens? You start,
Yeah.
I mean, at least for me, you start bawling. I started hysterical crying right there. And he was so taken aback, and he sat next to me. And he said to me, I don't know exactly what you're going through, but I promise you this too shall pass. And we started sharing some words, and he said, if you don't mind, I'm just going to ask you to step aside for a moment. Please don't leave. And so he went ahead and he, cleaned off the bus stop. And as I was stepping aside and I stood a little bit far back, I see a woman walking by him carrying some groceries. And you could tell from the expression on her face that she was going through maybe not such a great day. She wasn't smiling. She looked like exhausted. It was like the end of the day. And as she's walking by him, he says a few words, and I couldn't hear what he said, but I saw her face shift. And she walked away from him with this incredible smile on her face. And I realized this guy isn't a guy washing bus stops. This is a guy bringing kindness into the world, bringing smiles, touching people's lives. He doesn't even realize it. And after he finished, he comes up to me and we continued to chat. And I just shared with him about my grandfather. He gave me a hug. I can't even tell you. He gave me such a tight hug. And he wrote down his number. His name was Maximilian. He wrote down his number on a paper. He says, I know you don't know me, but if you ever just need to talk or you need somebody to listen, you call me. I can't tell you, I'll never forget this guy. I'll never forget this guy, Maximilian, and what he did for me that day. It was just a few words, but he saw me and he engaged. Just like you said, kindness is a choice. We can choose to stop, to open our eyes, to see people, to engage, or we can choose to turn a blind eye and walk on by. And that day he chose to see me, and it made all of the difference to me.
I had a little bit of an experience like that here. I'm up on the second floor and I have a balcony, and I look down at the parking lot, and this elderly couple was moving in, and they've got all of these things that they hold in themselves, and they're trying to manage all of this, and it's obvious some of it's too heavy for them. And so I went down and I says, I think I could help. Can I help you? And well, they're pretty proud, and they wasn't sure they really wanted any help, but I went ahead and helped them anyhow. And they just kind of stepped back and let me have at it. But got them upstairs, got them in their room, and special friends from then on. They really go out of their way to be nice, and instead of being wore out and who knows what else, and maybe hurting their back or whatever, somebody just helped them a little bit and made it easy. All they had to do was walk to their room, and we moved the stuff inside, and they can unload it at their leisure. And there's a certain table that there's 4 of us old codgers sit at every morning for breakfast, and we kind of take over the place with shenanigans, and they sit at that table right beside us, and they're starting to join in now, and we call it the Magnificent Eight, and we've got a governor and an official greeter.
Love
And
that.
every morning we go through this routine, and it's a scream. But everybody leaves in a really
love
good
that.
mood, and if you have to wait a little extra to get your breakfast, so what?
At least you're in good company,
You're in good
At least
company,
you're in
right?
good company.
What is an example of an act of kindness that someone can do every day?
So there are really loads of things people can do, but I have to first say one thing that's very important. A lot of people, okay, see kindness and let's say charity work as the same kind of thing. And it's really not necessarily true, okay? Sometimes you could have a person that maybe they're going and they're volunteering in an old age home or in a soup kitchen or whatever it may be. They're doing the action. They're doing an action like a check mark of, I did an act of kindness. But the question is, does that really make the person kind? Now, I always tell people, imagine you have a person, okay? They go in, they went into a soup kitchen, they were giving out food to the homeless, and then they walk out and they, see somebody and they give that person a look up and down. Is that person considered to be a kind person? We have to realize that kind actions, right? Let's say charity work. Kindness is not something you check off of a list. It's not like, oh yeah, I did it today. I'm kind, from 4 to 5 on Mondays and Wednesdays. I'm very sorry. Let me look at my calendar. You missed the right time. I'll make an appointment with you next week. Kindness isn't something that we just check off of a list. It's not something that we do. Kindness is something that we live. And so it begins in the way in which we see the world. How do we see the world? How do we engage with the world? And so there are so many simple things that we can do. You don't need to quit your job and start a nonprofit organization to be kind. You just need to open your eyes and see the people right there in front of you. So in this past year of COVID, with so many of us staying home, a lot of people engage in kindness on the outside. I never forget this story, okay? I was in high school, and at the time there was an organization in my community that helps people within the community. And one of the things that they do is that people that can't afford tutoring services, they have tutoring services for students. So people call up and then they call one of the high school volunteers, and the high school volunteer goes to somebody's house and helps that child study for their exam. And so I was by a friend's house, okay? And my friend's sibling comes in and says, hey, can you help me? I have a test tomorrow. It's really, really hard for me. And she's like, oh, I don't have time. Hello, go away. I don't have time for this. I can't do this. About 5 minutes later, no joke, get a phone call from the community organization. Oh, we have a student that needs peer tutoring from the community nonprofit. Can you come in? Yeah, I'll be right there. So often people do this. It's easier sometimes to do kindness for strangers than the people that are living there right in your own home. So I would say, in terms of talking about everyday kindness, it's the simple things, whether it be smiling at somebody, whether it be asking your mom in the morning, how is she doing? Or asking your child when they come home from school, how is your day? It's taking the time to engage. And what I would say is, more than anything, like I said, during this year of COVID, we were all in a sense locked at home, perhaps because the people in which we need to engage in kindness with even more so are the people that are right there next to us, the people that we sometimes take for granted. And it's easy to do that because, we know that they're always going to love us, right? Because they're our family. They're always going to love us. But to not take them for granted, to see them, to connect with them, to help out with the dishes one day or taking out the trash. It's the simple things. Saying hello to somebody or smiling at someone when you're walking down the street. I mean, there's so many ways. I have a book called Kindness Boomerang, which Gail, I'd love to send you a copy of this book as a gift. Okay.
I would appreciate it.
And this book, 100%. When is your birthday, Gail?
May 31st.
What day? May 31st. Okay. I'm gonna open up. I'll tell you what this book is. It's a lesson a day book in kindness. Every single day of the year has an act of kindness, an inspirational quote, and then a short reflection on the power of paying it forward, to simply give people the opportunity to increase their awareness. Because when you ask somebody, are you kind? You're not going to have anybody say, oh no, kindness? No, that's not for me. I'm sorry, you got the wrong guy. No one's going to say that. Everyone, yeah, kindness, of course, yeah, I'm kind. But because it's such a broad term, we don't see the opportunities. But when we're given a specific act, suddenly our eyes open up and we start becoming aware of it. Like, for example, if somebody introduced you to a song you never heard before, you ever notice that now all of a sudden you start hearing it everywhere you go? It's like everywhere, because our awareness is increased. Awareness is the key to being able to engage in kindness, becoming aware. I remember in my class, and when I was a teacher, I gave out these acts of kindness cards to my students, and every card had on it a different act of kindness, okay? Small things. Open the door for someone. The next day, one of my students comes back to me going crazy. Orly, you're not going to believe what happened. I said, what happened? Says, the minute after you gave me my card, and their card said, hold the door open for someone. The second after you gave me, everywhere I looked, there were doors that needed to be open. There was a door and there was a door. It was crazy. And I started laughing so hard. I said, by the way, those doors were there yesterday and they were also there the day before.
Yeah.
But what happened?
Right.
They became aware. They became aware. So I'm going to tell you what your birthday is. You ready for this?
Okay.
It's actually a really good one.
Shoot.
The act is try and settle a fight between friends. Kind words and patience can solve any problem. And the quote is, peace is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to cope with it, by Dorothy Thomas. So it's that's a pretty powerful act. I won't read the reflection right now. You'll get to see it when I send you this. I'm going to send you this as a gift. I think you'll really enjoy it. But the idea is, once you hear it, now it's gonna pop into your head. Is there somebody that I could? It already sounds like you're that kind of guy. You're that guy. You're out there, and you're not passive. You're being proactive. You're being proactive to see when there's an issue, and you come on in with your cheer and with your heart and with your joy, and you infuse a sense of happiness, a sense of laughter, because laughter is the best, into any situation. So to me, these are the simple things that we can do. You don't have to do these tremendous life-changing things. It's the small things, small things.
I had a thing happen to me. I've always been one that likes to whistle. So
I noticed that you said that before.
when I'm walking down the hallway to the dining room, for instance, or to somewhere where there's a group of people, I'm usually whistling.
I'm going to have to get you to teach me how to do that, because till today, I don't know how to whistle. It's terrible. We'll have to have a private whistling session. I'm going to have to learn how to do it.
And after a while, I got to noticing when I would be walking down the hallway and walk in the dining room, everybody's looking, waiting for me with a big smile on their face. And then if I forgot to whistle, now when I come in there saying, Gail, is everything okay?
I love it.
But had no idea that I would have any effect on him. I was doing that for my own, because I enjoy doing it, but others were
hearing. It's an energy. You're giving out an energy, and that energy is very infectious. That's what kindness is. It's super infectious. When people are around positive people, they're happier. They want to be around that person. Who wants to be around somebody that's always down? But people like being around positive people because they're giving off an energy, and that energy lifts them up. And when they're up, they can lift another person up. And so the ripples in terms of the amount of people whose lives we impact in this world is incredible. Incredible. Because think about it. Think about how many people you're impacting. Now there might be 180 residents, but if you're impacting a staff worker, and that person goes home and they're impacting their kids, and then their kids are impacting their friends and their teachers. I mean, just think of the ripples of the amount of thousands upon thousands of lives that you've touched and that we all touch. When we recognize that we matter, our choices matter. And so we're more likely to make better choices. When I first started my nonprofit Life Vest Inside, I left my job, I told you, and I started this organization. It started with a short film. Okay. I had a background in film production, but it was 7 years since I had done film. Okay. I was a teacher for 7 years. And in the summer off from teaching, I said, I want to create a film that's going to show people the infectious nature in the positive way and the power that kindness has to impact positive change. Now, everybody I knew was telling me I was crazy. What are you doing? Who do you think you're going to impact? Do you think it's make a difference? Better people than you came before you to try to make change. You don't waste your money. Every negative word you could think of. Okay, that's what I got. And I was scared. It had been 7 years since I had done film. I was really nervous, And I sat down and I started writing these kindness experiences that left an imprint on my life. Just like these small moments, not these huge things. And the script came about. And I said, imagine if I can show how one of these acts that happens on a random street then goes to the next person, and then the next and the next, and there doesn't have to be any dialogue, because like I said, it's an energy. And a lot of that energy comes from our eyes. That's what I always say, don't look at people in the eyes. Today's world, right? Everyone's looking down, they're looking at their phone, they're not looking at you. have to get out of our eye world to see people with our eyes.
Right.
And the script, in a sense, like wrote itself. And I'll never forget the day that we filmed this. It was such an exciting moment. I was so scared. I didn't know how this was going to reach anybody, but I knew my why. My why existed in my heart ever since I was a little 4-year-old kid that dreamed of changing the world. My why came about because when I was 15 years old and went through a very, very rough depression after we had a fire in my house and my family lost everything. And I was in a very bad place. My family was moving around for 6 years. I made a promise to myself at age 15 during that very dark depression to be there for people the way I wish somebody would have been there for me, and to see people the way I wish somebody would have seen me. So no matter how many discouraging words were around me to tell me to not do this, I know I needed to do it because it was a calling of mine. It was a promise that I made to myself. And the promises we make to ourselves are really important. And so created this film, and the following week I was back in school teaching. But that 4-year-old kid that dreamed of changing the world started dreaming again. I said, if I believe in this enough, I got to go all in. And I told the school I'd be taking the following year off to see what would happen if I put my full self into this dream. And it started with putting that film up online called Kindness Boomerang. The concept of a kindness boomerang. What is the concept of a boomerang? As we know, a boomerang, you throw it out, it comes back to you. And in this short film, you see an act of kindness as it goes from one person to the next, to the next, to the next, and then comes back to the person who set it into motion. Now, in our life, we don't always see how the good things that we do really create an impact. We don't necessarily see it, but this is truly how life works. And that's exactly what the kindness boomerang effect is about. You put something out into the world, not because you're expecting to receive something in return. You put something out into the world because that's your fingerprint. That's your mark on the world. That's your legacy. The lives of the people that we touch when we're here in this world for just a short period of time. There's a very, very famous poem called The Dash that talks about the dash between a person's years, from the year of their birth until the year of their passing. And it's not about the 2 years that matter, but it's the dash, what we do with our dash, what we do, the lives of the people that we touch when we're here in this world for such a short time, the impression that we make on them. But, don't ever doubt the fact that one positive thing you put out there can affect an entire sea of change. And that's the concept of the kindness boomerang.
Has anybody ever told you what an awesome lady you are? We need more people like you in this world.
Oh, hold on. Let me record that. I'm going to put that as my voice, my ringer. And so this way, when my phone rings, I'm going to have somebody, I'm going to hear Gail's voice. It's going to make me very happy. Honestly, I have to tell you, first of all, you have to understand, your words really mean a lot to me, because in life, there are always ups and downs. And these past 10 years of working on this and it being really a life mission, there are hard days. There are. And it's the words of people like you. Honestly, that's the fuel that keeps me going. It's what continues to keep me going day in and day out, to continue to see the good, because unfortunately, as you could see, so many people say, the world is going to garbage, is all this negative and the negative. If we're going to look for the negative, we're only going to see negative. But if we can train our eye, it's a muscle, just like we work out in the gym, right? We work out our arms and our legs. Our eyes are a muscle that need to be worked out. And our eyes need to be used to start to see the good, catch the good. And the more good that you catch, the more good is reflected back at you, because we are magnets in this world. That's why so many people are drawn to you, Gail, because you're a magnet for good, right? And so they want to be around that good energy. So the more we continue to look and spot the good and notice it and call it out, the more good is going to come. But if we're going to continue to call out all the negative, we're going to only bring that negative energy back to us. So it's a choice. It's a choice of how we use this very important muscle.
Well, you've got me energized. I'm going to go out and find somebody I can help when we're down here.
And so you got to keep passing that energy along. This is the kindness boomerang, my friend. Like I say, it's kindness that keeps the world afloat, because we can't prevent the obstacles and the mishaps from coming our way. They're going to come. But what we can do, what is in our power to do, is to throw somebody a little life vest. You see my life vest back here, right? My little lifeline of kindness, that even though somebody might be surrounded by troubles, that might be surrounded by these raging waters, that little vest is the difference between life and death. It's what gives someone the hope to know that it's going to be okay. And that comes in the form of our small, yet very, very significant and meaningful acts of kindness.
My dad died when he was 32, and I was
Wow.
7, the oldest of 5 kids. And mom had 5 kids with no means of income.
Wow.
But she had her church, and I don't ever remember her being sure she was really, hurt in that she lost her husband and with 5 kids so early in life. But she recognized the issue, and she did a tremendous job of raising the family and putting that spirit. Like I say, the church was everything to her. That was her. But she got involved in everything around the church, and
That was her
she was
life vest.
really a super example to others.
Faith has a definite way of doing that. It
Yeah.
lifts us up when we feel like we don't have the strength to go on. I can tell you, for me, when I told you, I mentioned to you, when I was 15 years old, I was in a very, very, very scary, dark depression. It was faith for me that got me through, that kept me pushing forward.
Yeah.
Everyone has their, in a sense, their life vest, but it's clear that your mom did a heck of a job. I'll tell you, just seeing the kind of person that you are, and you give off such a youthful energy. And I always say, no matter how old I get, I don't care what it says on my driver's license. Okay, I'm going to stay 9 years old. Okay, that's what I'm going to stay there. Sounds good to me. 9. That's what I'm 9. That's it.
That's
you know why?
good.
They
That's
always call me
good.
Peter Pan. My family always calls me Peter, because if we forget and we stop to look at the world through the eyes of a child, we've lost everything. A child has the ability to constantly dream, to believe that change is possible,
You
to
bet.
believe that in the good of the world. And we can't allow ourselves to be jaded from negative experiences that happen. We all go through negative experiences. We all have hardships. But if we lose that innocence, if we lose that ability to see the world with that innocence, then what have we got?
Yep.
And that's why I always
right.
say I'm going to stay 9 years old. It looks like you're probably 9 years old too. I would say maybe you're 9.5. I don't know, something like that. That's what I would say.
Maybe, at least 9.5.
So if there's one last message I would like to share, one thing that I would hope that people would remember, kindness, we talk about kindness as doing outwardly for others, but very often we forget that kindness actually begins with us. If you ever notice when you're on an airplane and they say, in case of an emergency, put on your life vest and then help the guy next to you. Now you might think, wow, the airline company, not very kind people. They don't care about the other guy next to you, even if it's a kid. But they actually understand the concept of kindness. You see, because if you drown, you're not going to be any good to anybody. So something that I would say, a message I would say, is to look at yourself in the mirror and to tell yourself how awesome you are, how fantastic you are. Because the truth is, in my opinion, unkindness exists in the world because people don't recognize that who they are matters. There is a lack of sense of self-value and self-worth. So if we truly want to build a kinder world, it begins with us recognizing just how incredible we are, loving ourselves in spite of our flaws. Because if we can each love ourselves in spite of our flaws, we have the freedom and the ability to embrace one another, to embrace others, even if they don't believe as we do, or they don't have the same faith as we do, or they don't have the same opinion as we do, or political views as we do. We then have the ability to embrace people for who they are, because we recognize that we all have our flaws. But recognizing love of self, this is a key. And if you're going to remember anything I say, tomorrow morning, when you wake up and you take that first deep breath in, remember it's on purpose. That means, and again, whether you believe in God or the universe, for me, it's God basically saying, come. Look at what Gail's gonna do today. Look at what Gail's gonna do today. That means that no matter what mistakes we made yesterday and the day before and the day before that, okay, it's like God is betting on us that we're gonna bring something beautiful into the world. The question is, are we willing to bet on ourselves? Are we willing to bet on ourselves? And I hope that the answer is yes, but recognize that you are here on purpose. You are a piece of the puzzle, different shapes, different colors, but we're all the same size. Each one of us having our place in this amazing, fantastic world.
That's really good. That's said
I
it
want to
all.
thank you so much, Gail. I want to thank you so much for this conversation and for sharing of your heart and of the kindness that you're doing and the ability that you have to see the people in the area where you live and to spread that kindness, because it's clear that you're impacting those people's lives and then they're impacting others. And that's really how we impact change in the world. It starts with every person just looking at how can I be my best self? And then naturally it inspires others to follow suit. So I feel very, very honored to be talking with you, Gail. So I'm going to be sure, Gail, to send you a copy for your belated birthday of the Kindness Boomerang book with 365 daily acts. So Gail, you're going to have loads of things to be aware of. You're going to be like, Orly, you got me very busy here. What's going on? But that's good. So I can't wait to get you this copy of this book. And I just want to thank you for your time and for this opportunity. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you. I appreciate it very much.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful